Hey friends, welcome to One Little Coder. In this video, we are going to look at a new R package that helps us do sentiment analysis. This package is not new for our ecosystem, but this is new for this channel. And the package's name is Sentiment R. Sentiment R is one of the most preferred packages in R for sentiment analysis because it handles Valence shifters out of box. So now what is Valence shifters? Valence shifter is those kind of words that can shift the polarity or amplify the polarity or somehow change the polarity of the entire sentence. To give you an example, I'm happy is a positive sentence because of the word happy. I'm not happy is actually a negative sentence because now there is a negation that has flipped the entire polarity of the sentence. The problem with this kind of setup is a lot of lexicon based packages do not handle this thing out of box. But Sentiment R is one of those packages that actively takes care of this thing and handles this Valence shifter. So you can look at more details about why sentiment are. The author has made a kind list of questions that you would like to ask about sentiment are, and then he has also answered it himself. So let us take a moment to thank the author of this package, Tyler Rinker. Thanks and a huge shout out to him for making this package open source. So now let us go ahead and install this package and get started with this thing. So, oh yes, it looks like I already have this package. First thing is I should remove this package, sentiment R, and it's been removed. Now I have to restart my R session. Restart. Okay, now I don't need all these things. Yes. Yeah. Install dot packages sentiment R. While it is getting installed, you can also look at this package and its documentation, and you can understand what kind of thing it does. So it is a lexicon based package. So to also mention that this is not an alternative or this is not a solution that you can probably compare it with your let's say deep learning or machine learning models for sentiment classification, because that's an entirely different universe. So this in this universe, we are primarily focusing on one thing, that is speed. Second thing is you're not using any paid subscription. This is not a computationally expensive operation. You don't need a GPU, you don't need a lot of training data. In fact, you don't need training data at all, so you can just start with something completely zero. Okay, so now the package has been installed. Library sentiment R. Cool, nice. So we have the package. So let's start with a simple text. Let's create a text saying this video is awesome, but the author is boring. Okay, so if you want to do sentiment, there is a function called sentiment that that does sentiment analysis within the text that you have given. But if you want it to split, then you can probably say, okay, instead of but, you can just your dot and say, do sentiment. So now you can see that it has tokenized the sentence into two halves. One is with the sentence ID 1, sentence ID 2, and both the sentences have 4 words. And as you can see, the first sentence has positive polarity, second sentence has negative polarity. Then the second function is sentiment by. So you may not be able to understand the purpose of sentiment by in this with this example, but sentiment by helps you group the score, aggregate the score based on some kind of attribute. So yeah, so these are main two functions that you would be using from this package. There are other functions like emotion. You can identify emotion. Yeah, we can see like what kind of emotion it has. A lot of different emotions. You can just see what kind of emotions. Sorry, it detects. So you can say, okay, is there a trust? Is there fear? Is there joy? Is there sadness? Or there is some kind of trust? So you can try to find out these things. And even though we are not going to look at any of these things, we are going to focus only on sentiment analysis. The other function that is main in this package is profanity. So you can find out whether there is profanity. This video is awesome, but the author is she says beep 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 beep. So you get that beep detected. We are going to have a community, and then you want to monitor or like members who constantly use profanity, again, this is quite handy for you to have a go-to package than writing regex yourself. Okay, so at this point, you know that you have these main functions: sentiment, profanity, emotion, and all these functions have also by version which helps you aggregate it at different levels. But the main thing is no organization is going to give you a text as a character string, right? So most of the time you're going to get data frame. So to handle that, what we the author has given, because we don't have a text data frame, what we can do is we can use some inbuilt. So let's say precedent. Okay, so there is a precedential debate data set. We'll call it debate deb. I'll just call it deb. So, deb. Oh, sorry. Yes, Deb. Deb has 2912 observations. There's five columns. Main thing is if you want to notice who is a person, and what is the role of the person, a moderator or candidate or someone else, and what is the dialogue that they spoke. So these are the main things of Deb. So let's go ahead and then start with sentiment analysis. To begin with sentiment analysis, the author is suggesting you to do sentence tokenization explicitly using a function called get sentences than asking sentiment to do it. So this makes this sentiment function computationally less expensive and also more efficient. That's what the author says, suggests, advises. So it's better to follow that. So sentiment, and let's assign it to a new data frame called say deb senti. That's how. Oh, okay, yeah. So the other thing is, if you want to use pipe operator, you can just load the library magnetar, but sentiment, because I'm going to do a lot of analysis and also build plots, I'm going to load tidyverse in this case. But you don't have to necessarily do it if you are from you're going to use data table for data manipulation. But in this case, I'm going to use this. So sentiment analysis and action. So you can see that input we gave 5 variables, output we have got 9 variables. So which means we have got 4 new columns added. So what are those 4 new columns? Element ID, sentence ID. Element ID is the equivalent to the actual text. Sentence ID is after tokenization. But given that this text was already tokenized, you don't see multiple sentences. What is the word count in this case? And what is the sentiment value also. So at this point, maybe let's say you want to make a histogram to understand how the sentiment varies. You can say okay, sentiment ggplot plus geom density, let's say density AES of sentiment. You can see, okay, so this is a plot. This is how the sentiment looks like. So most of the conversations are actually around the neutral point, and then very less is mostly positive and slightly less negative. So that's something that you can observe with this. And then the next thing is maybe you want to make a box plot and see how it varies between different members. So I'm going to call person. Why is my sentiment? Let's see how it looks. So okay, so I have to flip the axis y and the x. You can see that okay, I've got a different person and how the box plot changes for them. If you want to make a violin plot or whatever plot, you can make it. So I think that is the main point of this thing. So it's not just the sentiment that you can make, but also what you can do after that. The next thing that I would like to highlight is not every time you want to have a polarity score, but sometimes you want to have a categorical variable. So what you can do in that case is you can say, okay, I've got the sentiment value. I'm going to take that and say mutate polarity level is equal to if else sentiment is greater than 0. I'm going to call it positive, and if else sorry, else it is negative. I'm going to assign, oh sorry, yes, I'm not going to assign it, I'm just going to show it in case if you want to look, or maybe I'll do a count of it. Okay, count of Count of what? I want to do a count of polarity level to understand how the polarity level is. So you can see that positive, negative, and then you can probably do this polarity level thing even based on role, person, and polarity level. So if I want to look at it, I can make now a plot with geom bar, a geom call. I'll do a geom call. AES of my X is my person, and my Y is my N, and I want to fill it with the polarity level. Let's see. Oops, I don't have level. So you can see that you have positive, negative. Most of the conversations were between Obama and Romney, and you can see how the positive, negative thing changes. You can make a percentage of it. You can make any plot that you want. So that's quite handy for you to do. Okay, just plus. I don't need this, but just a beautiful plot, slightly better beautiful plot. Again, I have to change my Y and X. Okay, so this is how it looks. I have not sorted it, but yeah, please forgive me for that. I think you get this point. The point is that you make a sentiment score, and then based on that score, you tend to do all sorts of analysis that you want. What if you want to group it by, like by default, you want to group it by the, like, let's say their whole role, like whether it's a candidate or moderator. Now, this is the place where you want to use sentiment by. What you can do is, this sentiment by group it by role, sorry, by is equal to group it by role and then group it by a person, and then you can see what is it doing. You can see that, okay, for every role candidate, so there are two candidates, Obama and Romney, what is the word count that they spoke and how much the standard deviation varied. And then you can also look at the average sentiment. So say Obama seems to have slightly more positive sentiment than Romney, and then also within the moderator you can see who was like extremely, high variance. The standard deviation is high. So this is again a very good feature of sentiment R, where you have this ability to group it by the variable or attribute that you want to do it. I think these are the main two functions, sentiment and sentiment by, and the same methodology you use it for the emotion and polarity, sorry, profanity, if you want. So there is one more function that I would like to highlight, and that function's name is also called highlight. Okay, so what highlight does is it brings the interpretability factor within this whatever we were doing until now. So what is it is, let's say until now we were doing some kind of sentiment analysis, and you want to understand why a given, let's say that you have a long sentence and you want to understand why a particular sentence has been either positive or negative. So let's take the example that we used. The example is, what is our text? The text is, this video is awesome, blah blah blah, and you have something. So now for you to have some understanding, what we can do is you can say sentiment by. Okay, so the thing is highlight takes only sentiment by object, it doesn't take sentiment. So sentiment by your text, and then you can say highlight of it, and then it will, what is happening here is you have a function problem. Let's see what is it. Okay, okay, instead of this, let's take deb dollar dialogue and sentiment by. Okay, I missed get sentences and highlight. Now you can actually see that it opens it at browser. So this visualization is quite handy if you are actually making a presentation, or if you are, let's say, want to explain why such thing is happening in a lot of business context. You are supposed to give this explanation. Also, you can use this to tune the parameters or improve your lexicon, or do more with Valence Shifters to improve your analysis. Okay, um let's try with our text for a moment and see what it does. Okay, so it says this is the positive sentence and this is the negative sentence, and overall, because the negative word is slightly more polarized, it gives a negative score to it. So that is good, well and good. And if you want to save your HTML somewhere, so you can say file is equal to where do you want to save it, the path, and then that HTML gets saved. So if you want to use it within your Flex dashboard or something like that, you can simply load that HTML within an iframe, or you can show it in your Shiny dashboard, or you can simply send over that HTML to your colleague or manager so that they can have a look at it. So I think these are the main functions that we looked at in this package: sentiment, sentiment by, and it's like their sister packages, sister functions, which is profanity and emotion, and then ultimately you have a highlight function. So you can look at this documentation, which is quite comprehensive, to understand what is happening inside it, and also you can look at what kind of functions are there. So you can handle emojis with this. You can handle you can extract only the sentiment attribute. So rather than doing this, if you want to just extract oh sorry, you can extract sentiment attribute, just a sentiment attributes. That's my bad. What it does, so it tries to extract sentiment attributes. So let's have a look at it. Okay, do you want to install? No, I don't want to install. Okay, without that package it cannot do it. Let's install. Let's install. Yeah, please. Okay, it's installing a bunch of packages. Once it does, what is it going to do? Let's see. It's still installing. A lot of packages are getting installed. So while it is getting installed, you can have a look at what all things this package contains. Once again, like I just mentioned, having an out-of-box solution like this really helps when you want to productionize your code rather than having a model and training it. Maybe there are some business contexts where you need that level of high accuracy, but in a lot of contexts, like you want to do social media analysis, or you want to do text mining with your normal customer service help desk records. So this package is quite handy for you to do those things. So let's see. Oh, it says install from GitHub. Yeah, just install it. Let's see what it does. It's downloading and installing. I think we just got into something that we shouldn't have got into, but yeah, because we got into it, let us do what it said. Please skip. How do I skip? No, none. Please don't do anything. Just use the existing packages. Still getting installed. I'm sorry that I'm dragging this end part quite a long. And let's. It's a lot of packages. Probably I shouldn't let you use this function. I think it is. So what it does is it extracts sentiment based attributes from a given text. Okay, that sounds good. Let's see what it does. Sentiment attributes. Sorry, sentiment attributes. Text is a. Oh, it's building a package. Wow, it's actually building a package, installing it from the source. I don't have R tools installed on my machine, so hopefully it's not going to be a problem. If it's going to be a problem, let's see. Oh, it's what all it is installing. I should have stopped this, I think. Okay, maybe I think I should. Oh, nice. It's done. So when you do sentiment attributes of text, wow, this is nice. So what is it getting? Let's do a view of it. What do we have? It gives you information like what all meta attributes you have. Let me just see it here because it's a list. It's quite handy to see it here. So what it does, so first it gives you meta information. It says how many tokens you have, how many words you have, how many sentences you have, do you have any question? That's nice. And then it says how many negatives you have, amplifiers you have, de-amplifier, adversative, negative, positive, polarized. Nice. and then it gives you polarized co-occurrences, and then it gives you normal co-occurrences, and it gives you the details breakdown of it. So I think that is quite handy if you're probably doing some high level, let's say you're a political campaign analyst for some politician, maybe that is where you would want to use this thing, but on a general context, I may not use it entirely. So the main functions are sentiment by, and highlight for you to bring in interpretability, and the sister functions. So I hope this video was helpful for you to get started with the sentiment R package and for you to do some kind of sentiment analysis. If you have any feedback for me, please let me know in the comment section. Also, if you have any suggestions or new packages that you would like for me to look into it, please let me know. And thank you very much for listening to me, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care. Bye bye.